Hey, hey, hey. Okay, welcome to day number 3 of 21 days of prayer for your business. And remember, this is not just about business, it's about life, family, relationships, parenting, whatever you want to insert in there. It is just about life. And also, we are removing the word day and placing it with ways. 21 ways to pray for your business. And this is day number 3, and we are talking about you are uniquely made. Again, I'm going to say this over and over because it is the one thing I hear all the time from everyone is I got stuck on day number 4. And I couldn't get past it and I just quit the study. Or, I'm like, no, keep going. You are not going to do that. Think about it in ways. So we're just excited that you are sticking around and diving in. There is nothing better that you can do for your business, for your relationships, whatever you're applying this to, than giving God control and making Him the center of it. And so today we're going to be talking about one of my topics that is my most favorite to talk about.
Yeah, yesterday was a little more difficult. Today is actually fun.
Yeah, yesterday's video was talking about finding freedom from your past. And if you have not watched that video, I encourage you to watch it. It is hands down, I think, one of the most monumental, I don't know if that's the word for it, but it's something that really is a key factor in keeping you stuck and not moving in a forward direction. So if you did not watch that video, go check it out. But today we're going to talk about all the ways that you are uniquely made, that you are uniquely you. I don't know if we need to cut off the car, if it is making any sound. We're going to roll with it. Jared's probably going to want to edit that out, but he's giving God control. Anyway, so day 3, that you are uniquely made. If you haven't got the book, it's completely fine. You can go through these times together with us and join the conversation. You don't have to have the book. If you want the book, we'll drop a place in the description that you can purchase it, as well as download kind of an intro and chapter 1 for free.
Free's good.
Free's good. And if you do watch the video from yesterday, I read a good bit of it. So you'll get a Cliff Note version there as well. But I get a little up in your business and nosy Rosie and ask you a lot of questions in our time together in the book and in these videos, because I really want you to not just hear the words, I really want you to apply it to your life. So many times we read through things and we let it kind of go one ear and out the other, but I really want you to sit and think on it. And so I hope that you've got a notebook and a pen and that you can jot some questions down. At the end, I'm going to give you some extensive homework. You are a homework person. He is not. But today is all about you. It's all about you. You are uniquely made. You have a purpose. You are not just taking up space. You are here for a reason. And you may be like, oh yeah, whatever. No, I firmly believe that. And I want to start off by reading a few verses. You can jot these verses down. These would be great verses for you to think on, to meditate on, to memorize. But Psalms 139, 13 through 16, it says, For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. Another verse that I love.
Can I just interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love what that verse says, you were not an accident.
Mm-mm.
You were formed before, in your mother's womb or whatever it says. But, sometimes we think we're just here on this earth and we don't really know why. It might have been a situation that was not perfect, how you got here. But there's no accidents, which I think is just amazing. We're all here for a purpose. And it's really fun to figure out what your gifts and talents are to pursue that purpose.
Yeah, we joke around when we've got two daughters, Alyssa and Elena. And Alyssa, I mean, like we were trying, to have a baby, and Elena was a little unexpected. Like she was a surprise. But that doesn't mean that she was not fearfully and wonderfully made, that she wasn't knit together in my womb. Like she had a purpose, and the Lord saw that. And so
I like that word unexpected instead of accidental.
Yeah, it was
That's a great way to look at it. Just unexpected.
It was unexpected, but the Lord, it wasn't unexpected to the Lord.
Right.
And so if you've ever felt like that you were an accident, no, you weren't. You were very expected by God. The next verse, Ephesians 2:10, it says, "For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." Like handiwork. We are God's handiwork. That's pretty phenomenal. Like, I mean, there's some people out here that can do some pretty cool masterpieces or design some cool things, but God, the one who created this whole universe, we are His handiwork. That is just mind-blowing. And then finally, Jeremiah 29:11, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." And,
Before we started the video, I asked her if she was purposely putting scriptures from Jeremiah or if that was just unconscious in the book.
His name is Jeremiah. His name is Jeremiah. So no, it was not subconsciously. I love you though. Okay, I want to get into you thinking about some specific things about you, okay? So your gifts, let's talk about that. What are some gifts that are unique to you? Think about that. Maybe if you want to pause the video for a second, grab your notebook and pen, write down some things that you feel like, man, this is something that I know I'm good at. Like, for instance, I'm not great at cooking. Any advice? I felt like you would be like, no, she is not good at cooking.
She's trying to behave on the video. Definitely not a strength.
I am not good at gymnastics. There's things I'm not gifted at. Some people are gifted at that. I wouldn't consider
Not God's handiwork in those two areas.
God's handiwork was not like Monique is going to do a somersault back handspring. That was not my gift and talent. But seriously, there are just certain things that some people are good at. And I want you to think about those things. What are some things that are your strengths? What are some things that just come kind of second nature to you? What are some things that you think are your strengths?
Well, I was reading that and I was thinking about it, and I was thinking, sort of throughout my life, I know that I'm uniquely made and have some strengths at a couple of things, but it's never been like I have this big vision for my life. But it's interesting, I'm good at tech. I'm good at analyzing things and numbers and stuff like that. But I really think God created me to be married to you.
There's only one person out there that could deal with me.
No, but for real, we just complement each other so good. So I think that it's funny how my gifts fit so nicely into the things, how your gifts are, but they fit together.
Yeah. I think that's a really good kind of thing to hit on, is that even if we're not talking about your business, if we're just talking about your marriage,
But even in our business, it works the same way.
100%. I mean, throughout the businesses that we've pursued, I've been kind of the one that's the big dreamer. And not that you don't dream, you definitely have dreams, but it's I'll be like, hey, we need to do XYZ, and you're the one who does XYZ. It's funny, we've had a business where I would get kind of the accolades of it because maybe I was more the face of it. And I'm like, oh,
That's fine with me.
It is us. But it wasn't fine with me because it is a team, and that I know I couldn't do a lot of the things that I've done without you. And so we do complement each other. And so you are a very detailed, and you see the specifics and those types of things. And so, so anyway.
High five.
High five. High five. I was like, oh no, what? So I want to read this verse and then we're going to talk about gifts a little bit more. Romans 12:6-8. We have different gifts according to the grace given to each of us. If your gift is prophesying, then prophesy in accordance with your faith. If it is serving, then serve. If it is teaching, then teach. If it is to encourage, then give encouragement. If it is giving, then give generously. If it is to lead, do it diligently. If it is if it is to show mercy, do it cheerfully. And I love this because it's like, if it's to teach, teach. If it's to this. It's like kind of basic. If you've got the gift, use the gift. That's what I'm reading in this. And I would just encourage you to see that that has been given to you to utilize for a specific purpose, for such a time as this. I really do believe that. And, especially in this kind of, in a faith dynamic, like as Christians, I do believe that's what we need to put our gifts into. And we're going to get into that. I don't want to jump ahead, but into worship to the Lord. It is. When we use our gifts, it's in worship to Him. Like think about when you've gotten a gift. Have you ever been given a gift before and you just put it in your closet and you never use it? You literally never use it. Well, like that gift was kind of useless then if it's not used. I say in the book, I talk about like if I were to give you a fishing pole and I were to give you a football, two great gifts, I know. If I were to give you those, then what are you going to do with the fishing pole? You're going to fish. What are you going to do with the football? Play football. Like it's what they're intended to do. But if you just kind of go tuck them away and never use them, then you never use the pole to fish and you never use the football to play. And so the gifts are given to you for a reason.
If you want to relate this to your business or say your job, if you just do a job or a business and you sort of don't use your gifts and talents, it's just so boring and so almost miserable. But if you can figure out what your gifts and talents are and connect it to a business or to your job, that's when you're like, your purpose really resonates and you really feel like you're like getting traction and you really feel alive and that you're doing what you're made to do, because you are. And then that lets you have more energy. It lets you have more longevity in those things. And it just makes you overall more successful if you can figure out what those gifts and talents are and use them in your business.
Yeah, because you're fulfilled and you're happy because you're doing what you've been designed to do. It is really what it's about. I love that you said the word longevity of it or whatever. It's because it's what you've been equipped to do. Continuing to talk on that, have you ever had gift envy? It's like, think about that. Like you're at Christmas and you're opening up gifts and you're like, oh my gosh, like look what they got. Or I wish I would have had that gift. Like, oh my word. Like we do that same thing with our gifts and talents. We're like, oh my gosh, look at so-and-so's gift. I wish I could do that. I wish I could play football like this, or I've never thought that actually, but just since I had football on the brain from the earlier.
Well, I could see it where I could, like you're the one getting the FaceTime, talking on the camera, getting the accolades. And, I could be like, well, her gift is so much better than mine. I don't feel that way, but I could, and so, but the thing I like to think about is it really takes everyone's gifts together to make something really, really work. If you think about, I don't know, our church, for example, your pastor or our pastor, he's the one that everybody sees, but there's somebody behind that camera, there's somebody behind that light, there's somebody watching the kids. I mean, there's a lot of different moving parts that pastor or that speaker can't speak without all those other people. So all the gifts are really equal. Maybe not equal, but they're all necessary to make everything work together.
For the purpose to be accomplished. Yeah. And so it's so easy though for us to look at that, especially like, in sales or in whatever. You're like, oh gosh, I wish I was as gifted as this person in this or this person in that. And no, like in parenting, for instance, my goodness, like, man, in the world of social media, really for that matter, in any area that you want to apply this to, social media amplifies because you're able to see kind of the highlight reel of so many people's lives. And you're like, oh man, if I could just do this like this person or this like this person. And it gets us off course. It really stalls us because we think we've got to be doing it like this person. Our daughters just had babies, and I'm like, don't get caught up in this world of looking at all of these other things and going, this is what it's got to look like, or this is like, you are uniquely you for a specific reason. I'm kind of not like the hostess with the mostess. Like, if you come over, I'm just kind of like, there's a cup over there and there's some water jug over there, like
get whatever you want out of the fridge.
Get whatever you want out of the fridge. But then there's like some people who they are just going to be like on it, have you a full course meal, snacks. They're going to have all the things. And that's because they have this gift of hospitality. They have this gift of, of serving and just doing all of these special little things. And that's how the Lord has gifted them. And so I want you to think through that. Think about times in your life where you've compared your gifts to someone else, or where you have not utilized your gifts. Another thing that I don't really hit on in this book, but there's like personality profiles, which I talk about a little bit, but things like your love languages, like how do you give love and how do you receive love? Your love language is touch. And we were actually, our little grandson is about 1.5 years, and we've known for the longest time his love language is touch. We're big on that, kind of watching love languages. And he's always just so touchy. And Elena, our youngest daughter, she's physical touch, and so we kind of can see from how she was. And like I've got pictures where when she was little, she's just like touching your face. if she's next to you, she's touching you. And little Liam was doing this the other day, and he's got a little brother who's just a couple months old, and we were sitting on the couch, and he just kept leaning over and just rubbing him. That's so cool. Think about those things. What are the ways that not only are you uniquely made in gifts and talents, but maybe your disposition, your personality, your love languages?
Yeah, it works in any situation too, like your family, your kids, your marriage, your business, your workplace. If you understand your personality and your love languages, it helps you communicate with other people if you can sort of understand theirs as well. Some people like to receive gifts, and so giving them something special would like just knock their socks off. And so, you can do that with your kids, your wife, your boss, your coworker, whoever. And that just makes, we kind of think that, we look at the world through our lens. And so we look at the way we receive love, our personality, and we sort of do that with other people. But if we can sort of see the world through their lens, it just helps the communication and the relationship to really be a lot better.
Yeah, when Jer was in, and this is going to just hit a little bit more on the dynamic of families, but when Jer was in, he was actually sick with COVID back, a 1.5 years ago. He was in the hospital for 8 or 9 days. And so I noticed something interesting with our kids when he was getting near the tail end of coming out of the hospital. My oldest daughter was like, you know what? Dad and I haven't done sushi and a movie night in a long time, especially since I've been married. And so I want us to go on a sushi date and a movie date. And Elena goes, I can't wait to give Dad the biggest hug. Quality time. And the other one was a physical touch. And Hunter went and bought you a t-shirt, or he bought you something and wanted me to take to you. And I was like, oh my gosh, his love language is gifts. Because I thought it was interesting to see how everybody wanted to, that almost makes me want to cry. I'll get emotional talking about that. I still get emotional about you being in the hospital. But anyway, it's so interesting how we're wired and how the Lord just uniquely gifted us. And so when we can really focus on that, and I know you're kind of like, how are we praying about that? Like, how are we going to devote a topic, a whole, video or a day on this concept? But I mean, it's all, there's verses in the Bible about our creation and about how we're made and about all of this. And so I think it is a great point to talk to the Lord about. If you really don't understand or know, ask the Lord to show you. Like the verse that we mentioned the other day of, that He places these desires in our heart. Like He gives us the desires of our heart, meaning He places these things inside of us, probably when He was knitting us together in our mother's womb. So, anyway, anything you want to add to that before we continue on?
Yeah, like she was saying, we can pray for our what our unique gifts and talents are, how we're uniquely made, and like we were saying before, just how others around us, we titled this 21 Days of Prayer for Your Business. But I mean, we can pray a lot. Help me to see what other people's gifts and talents are,
Yes.
to impact them in whatever I'm doing, and as well as our own.
Yeah, and another thing, I mentioned this kind of in the homework section of it, but like just understanding to acknowledge someone else's gifts and talents. That is so encouraging to go, man, like I love how you saw the things that needed to get fixed. One of my best friend Natalie messaged me right before we recorded this video, and she was like, "Hey, I was looking at the videos that you've uploaded, and you need to kind of tweak this on the titles and this and that." And like, man, just to go, hey, thank you so much for being so observant and knowing that and seeing that. So when you can bring that up.
That's a good side note to mention. There is there's a lot of people that go, I don't know what my gifts and talents are. Well, chances are someone around you does, and so obviously pray and ask the Lord, but ask the people that know you, that your friends, your family. They'll be willing to tell you all the good things about you. And
Because sometimes it's hard.
yeah,
It's hard to like analyze yourself.
yeah. I was thinking earlier when I was reading the chapter that, and I think you talk about one of those scriptures. He's like, if you give mercy, give it cheerfully.
Yes.
And that is something that I couldn't see in myself, like giving grace and giving mercy. But like when I was managing our juice shop, like my kids would be like, "You have more grace than anybody we know," and I'm like, "I don't know."
No, but it's
So I guess it's a gift of mine.
yeah, it is. And so I think it's hard for us sometimes to see it in ourselves, but ask a friend, ask a family member, but then also you be on the giving side of that to someone else to encourage them. Even if you've got a waitress, we've done that before. If we've had a waiter or a waitress who's just been like super kind or super, just to even speak that over their lives, to speak words of life. Kind of talked about that in Freedom from the Past, of how easily our words can be used.
Just something simple. Elena is so good at that. She'll be like, "Oh, I love your nails.
She is.
Oh, that necklace is so beautiful." And it just like
You can
just see
see
the
'em.
people just light up, and it's like something so simple
Yes.
can really make someone's day.
Yeah, she is very good about that. And instantly you see just this smile. They beam.
Yeah.
And it is something so small about your shirt or your this, or your smile is so beautiful. So anyway, okay, before we end our time together, I want to give you some homework. So jot this down. I hope if you did not love homework in school, I hope you were like, this is my favorite part of these videos, is this homework. We're calling Walk It Out. So first is what I just said. If you don't know what your gifts and talents are, could you just ask some friends? Could you ask some family members? Encourage someone today. Like, that's your homework. That's not hard. Like, encourage someone today.
It's so fun too.
In person, whether it's just shooting them a text. If somebody came to your mind while we were talking and you're like, oh yeah, that person is a great hostess, or this person is a great encourager. Jeremiah was telling me before we came down here to do the video, he got a text from someone that was just thanking him for, staying consistent in his life and being his friend. He kind of moved on to a different business and kind of, he kind of felt like he was not getting some love or whatever, but Jer has stayed his friend. And he said, I want to thank you. You don't have nothing to gain from me. He said, you have nothing to gain from me, but yet you have stayed my friend. And I was like, and honestly, I can't even tell you how much that did for my heart, and honestly, how some healing even came from hearing those words spoken. And so you have no clue the power of your words. So do that for somebody today. If you've ever done, people love or hate personality tests. We kind of like them.
We're like obsessed.
Yeah, and there's one that we know a lot about. It's DISC, D-I-S-C. And I understand what some people don't like about it is they don't like to be labeled. They feel like it's putting a label on you. So I definitely can understand. But there are these things where if you can look at it in a healthy manner and not look at it through the lens of insecurity, but you can look at it of like, this is ways that, because when I look at a profile like DISC, I am DI, you are DC.
Mm-hmm.
So our Ds, it means you're very dominant and you're kind of like large and in charge. I is like a little bit more of a people person. S is just that loyal. They are like consistent. And
caring.
Then the C is like kind of orderly, and see all these things. And what's really cool about when you can dive into some of these personality tests is that it really shows you how people work together, or how it kind of highlights their gifts and the highlights of their personality.
Yeah, and there's several different styles of tests. There's some that are like really simple, and there's some that are like very detailed and nuanced. Like Myers-Briggs gives you like a crazy amount of information. If you want to check that one out, DISC is sort of in the middle. That's why I kind of like it. It's still simple, but it still has enough nuance to go like, you're this and I'm this, and this is how we differ. Then something it's not really personality, but like it's really big right now is Enneagram. And so we like that too. It's just it just adds to the flavor.
Yeah, and again, I know we're probably going to get some messages where there's tons of people who don't like Enneagram. I mean, listen, if you don't like it, don't use it. But anyway, whatever it is, get into studying and learning more about yourself and who you are. And then apply that into your relationships, apply that into your business, apply that into whatever.
Yep. So that's today's video. If you liked it or you just didn't hate it, give us a big thumbs up. And also really help our channel if you would subscribe, maybe share with your friends. And if you want to be in the know, like I do, hit that notification bell.
I've got a question. Natalie brought up when she went to go hit...
camera's overheating, so talk quickly.
Oh, when she went to hit the notification, it said all or whatever. Is there something like certain that you do with that?
All is always good.
Okay, all. Okay, Jer's rushing me along. You probably saw him going, come on, because our camera's overheating. So that means it's a wrap, folks. It's a wrap. Give it a like if you liked it.
What's tomorrow's chapter? Quick.
Tomorrow is...
Catching a Vision.
Ooh,
fun.
Woo! Okay.
Bye.
See ya.